Hello, this is Carl with SLO Sail and Canvas, and today we're going to be installing a Prindle 16 trampoline without ports. These are all the items that you'll need to install the trampoline. So we have a new trampoline here from SLO Sail and Canvas. We have some 1/4-inch lacing line for the aft part of the trampoline with the grommets. This is a 1/4-inch braided polyester. And then for lacing the sides of the trampoline, we have two lengths, 17 feet each, of 1/8-inch braided polyester. It shouldn't be necessary on the Prindle trampoline, but we have some McLube here for lubricating the tracks. We have some pliers for pulling the 1/8-inch lacing cord tight where it passes over the holes. That can be handy. And then we have a pen and a pencil here. Really, you can use anything you want as a fid to help push the lacing line through the webbing loops in the side of the trampoline. So anyhow, we'll get started. We're going to do this all in one take. It's going to take probably about 10 to 15 minutes to do, so you'll get to see everything that goes on, and we'll be talking throughout the video just about how to do things and sort of interesting things with the Prindle. Okay, so we're going to get started. So here's the trampoline, and to point out a few things on here, this particular boat does not have ports. The port cutouts, if your boat did have ports, would be right here, and they're just an inspection or storage port that's in the hull. These grommets are for the trapeze lines, the trapeze bungee, and then these middle rows of grommets are for the jib lead positioning. So the locations of these grommets may vary from one trampoline manufacturer to the other. You should use and set your jib leads for whatever makes your boat perform the best. But the locations, like I say, may vary depending on the manufacturer. And yeah, we'll get started and put this on the boat. So on the Prindle boats, there'll be one side that will have an open end cap, and the other side may have closed end caps. So just look at the boat before you go to install. And here it is. This installation is much easier with two people because you have to put the trampoline across the boat simultaneously. On the front and rear. The first thing that you should do is get the trampoline oriented properly side to side. So we have install a grommet here that's handy for attaching a riding line to, tying it around the main beam on the center line of the boat. Also at this time you may want to untie the hiking straps. Here we tie them on during shipping. The two key things to remember when lacing up a trampoline is you want the trampoline to go tight and stay tight. So the exact method doesn't really matter. We're going to show you what we do. You can do whatever you need to do, but it's really not that important how you do it, but what is important is that the trampoline ends up tight and stays tight. So just like lacing up a pair of boots, we'll just start by getting all the lacing through all the holes in the trampoline first without tightening anything. This will enable us to make sure the trampoline's on the center line and isn't going to move around. And then we'll go around, we'll do probably 2 or 3, maybe even 4 rounds of tightening. Also, we're going to try to get this trampoline as tight as we can here before the boat gets sailed. After the boat goes sailing, it may need to be tightened up again after a couple times. So we have our long piece of 1/4-inch here. I'm going to tie a bowline with a couple-inch loop in it, couple-inch loop in the end, and this is going to help us get our lacing line started. We need this because I'm going to insert it up from the bottom. and this will jam in the hole there. So we need this to get started underneath. So there's that. Now we're back through the hole here. Okay. Also, on slow sailing canvas trampolines, we almost always stagger the first couple holes. So this generates that nice zigzag pattern back and forth when you lace. So just keep that in mind when you're starting. So, if that makes sense, this is just the loop from a bowline, and then I've passed the line back underneath the trampoline and we're back on top there. So I won't get this tight, I'm just going to pass the line through so you can see how everything goes. With these center lacing lines, or the aft lacing lines, we make sure they're plenty long, and that way these lines will overlap in the middle. It helps when you're tying the lacing lines off.
So to review how we got started, we take a bowline with a couple-inch loop, come up from the bottom with that bowline, take the end of our lacing line to that next grommet, pull it all through that bowline, and continue the zigzag lacing pattern.
Throughout this process, you'll just want to make sure that the trampoline is centered up on the boat. Also, while Andrew finishes lacing the back there, I want to point out a couple things. The way that all the modern Prindle trampolines are built is as a large one-piece trampoline with about a 3 to 4 inch gap between these side lacing points and these webbing loops. On the old original Prindles, these webbing tabs were actually very long and passed all the way through this slot, and then they ran a wire down the underneath side of the gunnel through all these webbing loops. And those old trampolines actually had a lace gap up the middle, just like a Hobie trampoline. And anyhow, that style was only around for a few years, and then everything since then has been this one-piece style. So as we go through here, we now have two ropes coming out of the same grommet. We're going to crisscross this lacing. So this line I have in my hand here is coming from this side. And we're going to kind of overlap those, just a couple of grommets here. Okay, I'm going to put it out of the bottom of the trampoline. And we'll do the same thing on this side right here. So what this is, it's a little more lacing right around the center line in the back of the boat. So as you raise the mast, you have just a little more lacing there, which isn't a bad thing. And then also, we have these tails coming out from underneath the bottom. So right underneath here, and these parts can then tie together. Using a little bit of extra lacing in the middle is also a good thing because it gets you a little bit of extra rope, so when you need to tension the trampoline in the future, or if something changes or you change trampolines, whatever, you'll have plenty of lacing rope left over. So this kind of takes care of the initial phase of the lacing of the rear of the trampoline, and then we'll get started, we'll lace up each side. So again for this, we have 1/8 inch or 3mm lacing line. And you want to make sure that the ends are nicely melted so they'll pass through the small slots in the hull. So you can start by passing it through here. I prefer to tie a barrel knot, so I can demonstrate that really quick. Wrap it over a few times, go back through the hole. This is kind of a nice solid knot, generates a little more bulk than a figure eight. But this or a figure eight will work fine. This is just what I prefer. So do that and start kind of small. Okay, so that's through and it jams firmly. You'll see it's firmly underneath. Okay, during this phase of lacing, you don't want to pull the trampoline off of the center line of the boat. So I'm just lacing very loosely and just pulling through as I go. So again, this Prindle 16 is one of the older model Prindles without the port cutout. If there was a port, the port would be located right here, right next to the shroud chain plate.
The existence of the inspection port does not change the method for lacing. Everything would be exactly identical.
Also, you may notice here that some of the webbing loops may not perfectly align with the slots that are cut in the boat. We've measured a number of Prindle 16s, and there is definitely some variation from boat to boat on the exact slot location. We try to make every effort to have good quality control on our part to get the webbing loops in exactly the right spot, as well as have a good average of the slot location in the boats that we have measured. You can see like this tab isn't lining up perfectly with the slot here. Also too, it's not necessarily a bad thing in the boats with ports. This helps pull the trampoline in around the port. So it may have been just, like I said, a slight difference in manufacturing of this boat. On this particular boat, these slots are actually cut fairly large and are actually passing this line really easily. Some of the other boats we've laced up have been a little bit more difficult to get the rope passed through. Also too, on this particular boat, we don't have the blocks for the trapeze bungees. Sometimes people will include those with the lacing and actually lace them into the lacing rope, both in this at this webbing loop in here as the bungee comes out of the ground. They can always be tied in after the fact too. So you're there, Andrew?
Done.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So I have one more slot to go, and then we'll get started. We'll get started tightening everything up. So right now would be a good time to just check and make sure that the trampoline is indeed on center line, both in the front and rear of the trampoline. And you can also check kind of the gap on one side and the other side. Everything should be very, very symmetrical. Okay. That looks really good. Okay. We'll start by just tightening up a little bit in the aft part of the trampoline. This will help kind of shift everything. You can see the trampoline's going tight almost immediately. You'll get a little crease right in the lacing, and it can be kind of nice just to help that crease along and just make it look kind of nice in there. Okay. So we're just taking the slack out of this. Rear lacing line. And you can see the trampoline already is pretty tight. We're leaving both of these ends loose under here. We're not tightening them at all. Just double checking that everything is on the center line. The trampoline right now is maybe airing a little bit to the starboard side of the boat. So we'll probably just take the slack out of the port side first, and then go from there. When I'm lacing these trampolines on, I'm usually always looking at, I'll just look at the center line every so often, just which side I should tighten up next. And again, we haven't tied anything off yet firmly. That's it, and you can see the trampoline's already going very tight across the middle. We haven't even tied anything off. Great, that looks better, much more aligned with the center line now. Okay, so we'll get started and start doing some real tightening. So, ready, Andrew? And you can do this by yourself, we're just doing this at the same time. Now the trampoline's getting very tight. This is really only the first round of real tightening here. Okay. And to finish this off, you can tie a quick stopper knot if you wanted, just to keep things from coming loose, but everything should stay pretty darn tight right now. So we're pretty good. These sides are really tight. We'll do a real tightening pass on the aft of the trampoline now too. You can see we're pulling on each grommet, lacing everything up. You'll hear some small creaking noises as there gets to be hundreds and hundreds of pounds of tension in the trampoline and into the boat. At this point, I'm going to tie a quick knot in here. I'm just going to tie an overhand knot. And Andrew has tied a stopper knot into the other side there. And what we'll do is we'll pass those lines together. We can kind of tighten it up. And now if you want to finish off tying this, you can tie a few half hitches. We include plenty of line in the lace kit with these trampolines, so if you have another lacing method, our lace kit will be flexible enough to accommodate whatever you need to do. Also, I'd recommend leaving a tail of maybe a foot or so and tying that off to another grommet. Or to some other lacing line, and that way you'll have a little bit of line left over for for the future when you tighten it up. So right now we have a pretty tight trampoline. If you wanted to, you could go and do another round of tightening. I think right now this is plenty tight to go sailing. One thing that you want to do as well is you want to tie off these hiking straps. So we make adjustable hiking straps on these trampolines. You can tighten them however tight you wish. I would just pull them tight and tie a square knot or a reef knot if we're going to be proper. And you may want to add a few more knots to this just to make sure that it doesn't slip. Okay. So that's what the trampoline should look like underneath. Here's what the top looks like. For finishing off this lacing here and back, I would do again just a barrel knot, just like we did at the front of the boat. And you want to really carefully work the knot all the way up to the, you want to carefully work the knot all the way back up to the hull. That way it won't slip. Okay, this all looks very good. Everything's really tight. Again, you may want to leave a little extra line here. Cut this off maybe with a foot to spare or something, and tie it off to the line underneath here. Keep everything nice and clear. Also, with this extra tail that you'll have with the lacing line left over, this will be plenty of line for the trapeze bungee blocks. Come off there. I think that's it. That shows the trampoline installed nice and tight. So if you have any questions, give us a call at 805-479-6122 and we can help you with anything you need. Hey, thanks for watching.